Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a sound that's, well, it's incredibly catchy, but also deeply unsettling.
Yeah, it really gets under your skin.
We're looking at a single from Bring Me the Horizon, BMTH. The track is Die E For You from 2021.
And it's more than just a song, isn't it? It's like this document. It needs a closer look.
Definitely. On the surface, you hear this huge, glossy, super melodic pop anthem, almost like it's built for stadiums.
Totally. Radio ready, but then you listen to the words.
And beneath that polished surface, the lyrics are just brutally honest. It's a confession, really.
Yeah.
Self-destruction, toxic obsession, all wrapped up in that shiny package.
Exactly. And that clash, that's the thing, isn't it? That paradox is what we need to unpack.
Right. So our mission today is to figure out how BMTH pulled this off. How do you deliver something so dark, addiction, relapse, using production that sounds so light, so euphoric?
It's like the sound itself is the high, the rush.
While the lyrics are describing the complete opposite, the crash, the misery.
It's quite a piece of engineering emotionally and culturally. Like you said, the band uses all the tricks of modern pop accessibility.
Like a Trojan horse.
Precisely. A Trojan horse. And they wrap up this incredibly raw, dark confession stuff you'd never usually hear on mainstream radio, and they make it irresistible. Huge hooks, that digital brightness.
It pulls you in with the sound before you even fully process the tragedy you're hearing.
Yeah, you're singing along before you realize what you're singing about.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. We need to understand where Die For You fits in BMTH's journey. It landed September 16th, 2021.
Right. And it was the first taste, the first signal of a new direction they were taking within their bigger post-human project.
And the timing is key here. Like you mentioned earlier, we need to remember what came right before it.
Oh, yeah. The previous EP, Post-Human, survival horror from 2020, that was heavy.
Really heavy. They went back to their roots almost. Metalcore riffs, new metal sounds.
Collaborations with Baby Metal, Evanescence. It was aggressive. And critically acclaimed, too.
So fans probably expected them to keep going down that heavy path, right? Build on that intensity.
You'd think so. But nope, they pivoted. Hard.
And Die For You was that pivot. It was meant to be the lead single for the next album in the series.
Which eventually became Post-Human, NeX GEn, dropping finally in May 2024. Took a while.
So this track wasn't just another song. It felt like a statement, a whole new stylistic direction.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just, adding a few synths here and there. It felt like a shift in their whole philosophy.
Oh, so?
Well, Oli Sykes and the band, especially Jordan Fish, the keyboardist and producer, they consciously moved away from that default metal aggression.
Toward something Oli himself called future emo.
Exactly. Future emo. They were aiming for a blend, synthesis, not just watering down the rock sound.
Okay, so what does future emo actually sound like?
Yeah.
What are the ingredients? Because it does sound like a bit of everything. Pop punk, electronic music.
It really is that mix. It's deliberate. They took the vulnerability of emo, added the hooks and structure of pop, and then filtered it all through this very contemporary, very digital lens. So technically, you've got maybe three main things going on.
Lay it out for us.
First, the rock foundation is still there. You've got loud guitars, often loads of layers.
That wall of sound thing.
Yeah. And Matt Nichols' drumming is still powerful, driving. That's the anchor.
Got it.
Second, undeniable pop hooks. That chorus, pure earworm, designed to stick.
Definitely sticks. Okay, and the third part, that future element.
That's the hyperpop influence. And hyperpop isn't just fast pop music. It's about digital sounds pushed to the extreme.
Like distortion, pitch-shifted vocals, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Maximalism. In Die For You, you hear it in those bright, sharp synths, lots of fast arpeggiators.
Those rapid repeating notes.
Yeah. Gives it that almost trancy or sometimes glitchy digital feel, like a computer freaking out, but, musically.
So they kept the rock core but dressed it up digitally. Why did they say they did that? What was the goal?
Well, the idea was to keep that emotional punch, that aggression that's always been part of BMTH.
Right, their identity.
Would achieve it differently. Through speed, through melody, rather than just like crushing heavy riffs. Sykes wanted pop's power and reach, but without losing the band's edge.
So synthesizing genres to break out of old boxes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Avoiding the sonic prisons of just being a rock band or a metal band.
Okay, that makes sense. But there's also the timing context. We have to remember when this was made. 2021.
Oh, absolutely critical. Mid-pandemic, lockdowns everywhere, forced isolation.
And for a lot of people, including Oli Sykes apparently, that meant a lot of forced thinking, introspection.
Yeah, when the outside world shuts down, your inner world gets really loud.
He mentioned how not being able to tour, losing those distractions, It made him face things he'd managed to push down for years.
His inner enemies, as he put it. Vices, obsessions, stuff bubbling up.
So the song has this claustrophobic feel.
Yeah.
Maybe because it came from that period of confinement?
I think so. It's like the sound of someone staring right into their own self-destructive patterns, knowing they couldn't run anymore. Isolation was the breeding ground for this really intense self-analysis. Painful, but necessary, it seems.
And that intense personal stuff leads us right into the heart of the song's subject matter. Oli Sykes' history with addiction, which he's been pretty open about.
Remarkably open, yeah. For over a decade, he's talked about how bad it got, how it nearly cost him his life, how it changed who he was.
He'd gotten sober, right. Went through rehab, though he apparently had issues with some of the traditional 12-step ideas.
He did. He thought he was mostly past it. But then came COVID. That lockdown isolation.
Yeah.
It exposed a weak spot, something not fully healed.
And the sources say this led to a relapse.
Yeah, he admitted it himself. Said he started using again, abusing shit, and things kind of spiraled. The lack of routine, the isolation. It took away his usual ways of coping.
So he was forced to confront that part of himself again, the part that looks for escape in destructive habits.
And it led to this confrontation with what he called the murky middle ground.
Okay, that phrase, murky middle ground, feels really relevant. Even if you haven't dealt with substance addiction, that struggle with boundaries around unhealthy habits. It resonates. What did it mean for him?
It was about compromise, trying to rationalize it, thinking he could control it.
Like, I don't abuse hard drugs, but maybe a drink is okay, maybe a smoke is okay.
Exactly that. Trying to keep a connection to the old ways, thinking he could manage the vice without it taking over again.
And the realization that fueled DF for you was basically, that doesn't work. That keeping the door even slightly open is the problem.
Precisely. The song came out of him realizing he needed a total break. He said something like, I need to cut this part of me off. I needed to shut it.
So the song itself is like this dramatic act of slamming that door.
A very aggressive, very theatrical door slam, yeah.
But he didn't just write a straightforward diary entry about getting sober. He used this powerful metaphor to frame the whole struggle.
The toxic mistress metaphor. Yeah, turning the addiction, the obsession, into a person, a secret lover.
An affair.
An affair he's having behind everyone's back.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because he said initially he thought, oh, this only hurts me, you know, that common justification.
Right. It's my problem.
But seeing it as an affair made him realize the wider damage, how it betrayed trust.
It fucked up people's trust, I think was the quote.
Yeah. And by turning this internal chemical battle into an external relationship drama.
You could use the language of love songs.
Exactly. Codependency, passion, betrayal, devotion, all that intense, over-the-top pop language. But using it to describe something horrific, it gives him the whole framework for the lyrics.
Okay, so he's got this mistress metaphor. Let's dive into the lyrics, starting with that huge chorus. How does he use that intense love song language to actually describe addiction?
The chorus hits you immediately with these declarations. You know that I'd die for, I'd cry for, you know that I'd breathe for, I'd bleed for.
Standard dramatic pop lyrics on the surface.
Right. But in the context of addiction, it's not really hyperbole, is it? It's almost literal. The substance, the habit, it feels necessary for life. Like you need it to breathe.
And the commitment, I'd bleed for, I'd die for.
Yeah.
That's the actual risk involved that actively courts death.
It becomes the top priority, your whole reason for being. But then there's that line in the chorus that's maybe the most psychologically revealing.
The Halo line.
Yeah. Let me see my halo, even though it's painful, I'm prepared to lose.
Okay, demanding a halo, purity, innocence, seems totally at odds with the self-destruction he's describing. What's going on there?
It points to this idea of a martyr complex. He can't stand the thought of suffering for nothing. So if the pain is this bad, there must be some higher purpose, right? Some twisted sense of nobility in it.
So he's not looking for sobriety. He's looking for justification. Like, look how much I suffer for this thing I love.
Exactly. He wants recognition as the ultimate suffering saint, the most devoted follower.
Even if it means losing everything, I'm prepared to lose.
He accepts the cost, health, relationships, maybe life itself, in exchange for that identity. The identity of the one who suffered the most intensely for this love.
Wow. That's a really dark insight into how compulsion works. Finding a weird comfort or status in self-inflicted pain.
Whether it's addiction, toxic relationships, whatever. That feeling that the suffering itself makes you special, or that you deserve it, it's chillingly common.
Okay, moving into verse 1. He gives us the root cause, doesn't he? I keep holding my breath for a miracle, hoping the hole in my heart would have healed somehow.
Straight away, it's positioned as self-medication, trying to fill that void, that hole in my heart, maybe from past trauma, waiting for the addiction itself to magically provide the healing it never can.
And then it just slams you with that raw conflict. You know you're everything I hate, wish I could escape, but you know I would die for you.
That's the core of severe dependency right there. Your rational brain sees the destruction, everything I hate, wish I could escape.
But the impulse, the hijacked drive, is stronger.
The need to submit wins over the need to survive. That awful trapped feeling.
Then verse 2 really escalates things. It goes beyond internal pain to physical self-harm imagery. 'Cause I've died inside 1,000 times, but still I'd kill myself for you.
The emotional death is already a given, so the next logical step in this twisted devotion is physical annihilation.
Which leads to probably the most shocking line in the song, the one that makes you flinch.
Oh yeah, because the truth of it, you could slit my wrists and I'd write your name in a heart with the hemorrhage.
Let's really sit with that imagery for a second. He takes this cliche romantic gesture, carving a heart with a name,
and forces it into this scene of horrific clinical trauma.
It's grotesque. Passion meets pathology. The addiction you gets the power to inflict deadly harm.
Slit my wrists. But his response isn't self-preservation, it's devotion. Using his own life-threatening blood loss, the hemorrhage, that medical term,
to make the ultimate fucked up love note.
Turning self-destruction into proof of love. His body becomes this sacrificial canvas. It's brutal.
Designed to jolt you out of that catchy melody. But importantly, that same verse contains the first flicker of rejection, right? A step towards clarity.
Yes. You know, it's you I need to kick. You make me feel like shit. And I don't want to die for you.
That's the rational voice breaking through. Using recovery language, need to kick, directly challenging the chorus mantra.
And that moment of defiance sets up the big realization in the bridge.
Right. The bridge feels like the climax, the turning point. What did the ancient Greeks call it? The anagnorisis. The moment of critical recognition, where ignorance falls away and the truth hits.
And here, the narrator finally tears down the whole romantic illusion.
Completely. He stops using love language and starts using words of violence, disaster, finality. This isn't love, this is a car crash.
A car crash, sudden, chaotic system failure.
This isn't love, this is a bloodbath. Mass violence. Intimacy is replaced by catastrophe.
He even uses legal and execution terms. This isn't love, this is a sentence. It's a bullet in the head.
Declaring it fundamentally fatal, terminal, no ambiguity left. So logically, this moment of absolute clarity should lead to survival mode. Get out! But instead,
it's this nihilistic surrender, so pull the trigger.
He accepts the death sentence, he sees the truth, but the pain is too much, so he just begs for it to be over quickly. Just finish me off.
It's devastating. This profound clarity should be the breaking point.
But structurally, it isn't. And maybe that's the real tragedy of the song.
I think it is, because right after he calls it a bullet in the head, what happens?
The music swells back up.
Huge anthemic chorus again. Back to the blind devotion. You know that I'd die for you.
So the implication is that moment of clarity in the bridge, the anagnorisis.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough to break the cycle. He knows the truth, intellectually, emotionally even. But musically, structurally, he falls right back in. The loop is still in control. And this whole emotional roller coaster works because of how the sound is engineered, right? It's not just the lyrics. It's that sonic engineering delivering the self-destruction.
Which brings us back to that Trojan horse idea.
Yeah. Exactly. The sound is the rush. The producers, Zach Cervini, Jordan Fish, input from people like Blood Pop, they deliberately made it sound euphoric. Yeah. It clashes completely with the words, but it mirrors that addict experience, finding bliss in the very thing that's destroying you.
Okay, let's break down the sound itself. This hybrid future emo blend. The guitars, for instance. They're loud, but not exactly heavy in the traditional metal sense.
Right. They're engineered to be bright, sharp, less muddy low end, more mid-high punch. Think pop-punk energy, those fast power chords.
And the production uses a lot of layering.
Oh yeah, tons of guitar tracks stacked up, panned wide, left and right. Creates that huge immersive wall of sound. It feels dense, euphoric, almost overwhelming, masking the anxiety underneath.
And the drums support that density.
They do. Matt Nichols' playing is high energy, but the sound is key. It's a mix of real drums and digital samples.
A hybrid kit sound.
Yeah. And heavily processed. The kick drum hits with this unnatural punch. The snare is super sharp, often layered with digital clicks or snaps. It cuts through everything.
Gives it that relentless drive. Feels almost machine-like.
Exactly. Less organic, more programmed, which fits the digital theme.
Then there are the electronics, the hyperpop stuff. That's what really gives it the future sound, you said. How do they create that feeling of false euphoria or chaos?
It's mainly the synths and effects, those really bright synth lines, the fast arpeggiators we talked about. They create this intense, almost overwhelming digital energy.
That maximalist approach. More is more.
Pretty much. Layering all these bright, sometimes glitchy digital textures, risers, weird noises over the guitars. It generates this manic, nervous vibe, like excitement that's about to tip over into collapse.
Okay, let's talk vocals. That's where the core emotion comes through.
Yeah.
Oli Sykes' voice in the chorus sounds so perfect, anthemic, polished.
The vocal production is super complex. Those main chorus lines are heavily processed. Auto-tune, melodyne, but not just to fix notes.
It's a stylistic choice.
Yeah, the polish is the point. It creates this smooth, almost artificial surface, like the shiny, perfect facade of the love the addiction is pretending to be.
And that massive stadium sing-along feel comes from
Layering, stacking dozens and dozens of vocal tracks, blending them, compressing them, creates that huge gang vocal sound.
It makes it feel communal, like everyone's singing along to this toxic idea.
Which is a brilliant production trick, really. It pulls you, the listener, into the devotion, makes you part of it.
But you mentioned something fascinating earlier about his screams still being in there, like a subconscious shadow.
Yes. Despite all that polish, his signature screams, that raw metalcore sound, they're still present. But they're mixed under the clean vocals, almost buried.
So they're like the hidden pain.
Exactly. The subconscious scream, the real agony that the pop melody is trying so hard to cover up. You can feel the conflict in the mix, even if you don't consciously register the screams right away.
You also mentioned the breaths, like his actual breathing being amplified. Why do that?
That's such a cool, subtle detail, making the breaths audible, maybe adding effects like delay. They become part of the rhythm, the texture.
What does it add?
It subtly reinforces the theme of physical dependence, needing the substance to breathe, and also, ironically, the feeling of suffocation the addiction causes. It's this tiny, vulnerable human sound in a massive synthetic production.
Okay, so when we get to that bridge, the anagnosis, the car crash moment, how does the sound change to match that lyrical shift?
The production completely mirrors the breakdown. The music shifts gears dramatically, it slows down, the energy drops out.
Yeah, it gets heavier.
Yeah, it momentarily becomes almost like a metal track again. The synth pull back, the guitars get huge and distorted, maybe drop tuning. The whole sound ruptures.
It becomes the bloodbath sonically.
Exactly. Punctuated by Sykes' raw vocal delivery in that section, it's the sound of the whole system just failing violently.
And finally, the music video. Directed by Sykes himself, right? Set in some kind of vampire nightclub.
In Kiev, yeah. And the vampire metaphor is just perfect, isn't it?
How so?
A vampire is the ultimate parasite. It survives by draining the life force, the vitality, from its host. It's the perfect visual for this toxic, life-draining relationship or addiction.
And the setting secret, violent club, mirrors the affair idea.
Right. And the host is left weakened, bleeding, echoing lyrics like bleed for hemorrhage.
And the ending of the video, where Oli himself gets attacked and turned into a vampire, his eyes change.
That drives home the tragedy we heard in the song's structure. Staying in the dynamic doesn't just kill you, it infects you. You become the monster.
Ensuring the cycle continues.
Yeah, the victim becomes the perpetrator, a self-replicating loop of destruction. It perfectly mirrors the song ending by going back to the chorus, #outro.
So wrapping this up, our deep dive into Die For You shows it's way more than just a catchy tune. It's this really clever, complex piece of cultural engineering almost.
Yeah, using that polished, maximalist sound to deliver a message about profound psychological pain and conflict, making something difficult incredibly palatable, even anthemic.
It's a really insightful look at how the language we use for love, for devotion, can be completely twisted and taken over by the logic of addiction.
Where self-destruction gets mistaken for loyalty, and pain is almost sought after, like that martyr's halo.
And we saw the narrator reach that moment of total clarity in the bridge. This isn't love, it's a bullet in the head. Absolute truth.
But the song's structure forces him right back into the cycle, back into the euphoric chorus, I die for you.
And that refusal to offer a clean break, that return to the loop, maybe that's the most honest and unsettling part of the whole thing. Knowledge doesn't automatically mean freedom.
The cycle remains dominant.
So here's something for you, the listener, to think about now. The song clearly points out the source of the destruction, but it ends by falling back into that destructive pattern. What does that tell you about recovery itself?
Is it ever really a final clean break, just slamming a door shut?
Or is recovery more like a constant, maybe lifelong confrontation with the possibility of relapse? A fight against that pull back towards the cycle, where that halo of suffering might still seem appealing?
That potential for the cycle to return. Maybe that's what makes the song feel so authentic, so deeply human, despite the polished sound.
A powerful and maybe uncomfortable thought to leave you with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.